Whatever you want.
Hello and welcome to Cast Live, where leaders connect with future leaders. My name is Irys and I'm a junior at Cast Tech. Before we start, I'd like to welcome Cast Lead for being here. If you guys could please stand up. Thank you. Today, we're excited to welcome Beto Altamirano. Beto Altamirano is the CEO and co-founder of Irys, a company building AI-driven tools that engage communities to bring real-time visibility and data analytics to urban stakeholders. Beto's interest in public policy has led him to work in the Texas House of Representatives, United States Senate, White House USTR, and the Alamo Area MPO. Beto's involvement in public policy was recognized by the Aspen Institute Latinos and Society and the Center of Urban Innovation. When he served as a scholar, co-authoring reports highlighting the millennial civic potential. Beto is a recipient of the MacArthur Foundation grant, a Forbes 30 under 30 social entrepreneur list maker, a World Economic Forum global shaper, and a presidential leadership scholar under the Clinton Foundation and the George W. Bush Institute. In 2021, Beto was appointed by San Antonio's District 1 to serve as a board member and vice chair for the Port Authority of San Antonio, a public entity that manages the technology and innovation campus focused on aerospace, defense, manufacturing, and cybersecurity. In 2022, he was appointed to represent the United States as a member of the United Nations Economic Commission for Europe's Task Force on Digitalization and Energy. In 2023, Beto co-founded and chairs the Better Futures Institute, an organization focused on addressing urban and social changes in San Antonio. BFI's work lies at the intersection of technology, data, design, media production, and workforce development. Beto holds a Bachelor of Arts in Government from the University of Texas at Austin, where he distinguished himself as a UT System Bill Archer Fellow. He furthers his academic pursuits with a Master's in Public Admission from the Harvard Kennedy School, where he served as a U.S. Latino Leadership Fellow at the Harvard Center for Public Leadership and as a New World Social Innovation Fellow at the Harvard Social Innovation and Change Initiative. Please welcome Beto Altamirano.
Can you hear me there? Yes. Let's try this. Can you hear me there? What about there? That's perfect, right? Excellent. All right. Well, first of all, Jane, I want to thank you and Alex and Eddie for the invitation. You have great leaders that care about you. So a big round of applause to them. And Elias, what an awesome introduction. So thank you. So I want to talk today about, let's have a conversation, right? I want to talk to you about my journey. And as I tell my story, I'm going to reflect on a couple of nuggets of information, of knowledge, right? How many of you want to go to college? There you go, I love this. How many of you are interested in technology? How many of you are interested in business? What about government/politics? I see some hands, I was talking to a few of you. So I'll tell my story, and then we can do Q&As, and any question that you have, let's have a conversation. But I was born and raised in the Rio Grande Valley, South Texas, and I grew up in a bicultural setting, completely bilingual. And I think that allowed me to build empathy, understanding other cultures. Being bilingual, being bicultural is an asset. It's a strength that you have if you are bicultural, and you should harness that. That builds a lot of empathy. It allows you to understand and feel comfortable with other people. So I love that upbringing. And that's the same upbringing that people in San Antonio experiment. So you should be proud of that, of being San Antonian, of being South Texan. My upbringing was beautiful. My parents provided. They were both entrepreneurs. They worked hard, blue-collar jobs. But when I was 17, I had an experience that happened to me that impacted me in many ways. And today I'm very public about it. But for a long time, I kept that story in the closet. I didn't want to tell people about it. But one night my father called me. And he told me that he will not make it home that night or any other night, but that I should believe in myself, that I should believe in the American dream and the work that they have done as immigrants. He was being deported, and I was 17, 18 years old. I was about your age, some of them. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't even know what the immigration law looked like. And so that really struck me, and it impacted me in so many ways. But that also pushed me to get interested in the law and policy of the United States. I saw how a law divided my family. And I got really curious, and I started organizing in my community, learning about politics, joining the Young Democrats and other groups. So my first piece of information, a golden nugget of knowledge, is turn adversity into opportunity. We are all gonna face challenges as you progress in life. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter where you are in life, you're gonna face challenges. But the opportunity is, how do you transform that, right, into something positive in your life? And for me, that was the push to get involved in politics at a young age. As an intern for a couple of political campaigns, I was invited then to work at the Texas Capitol. And I'm telling you this journey, right, because I started at a young age. All of you are still in high school, but soon, you're gonna start college. So the other piece of information that I want to share with you is pursue opportunities. The opportunities are not gonna come to you. They're not gonna appear out of nowhere. You gotta make them happen, right? And in my case, was working in the government field. Without having a degree in it, right? I was interning, right? So internships are extremely important as well. When I started working at the Texas Capitol, I was just 21 years old. But I got to see how the sausage is made, right? And trust me, it's not a beautiful process. But I want to say that Jim Russell's husband, Mike Villarreal, he was a state rep when I was working there. And I got to see him in action. I got to learn from people like him, San Antonians that were driving positive change, that continue to drive positive change. And I was interning for State Representative Joe Farias at the time, District 118 of the south side of San Antonio. And that was my introduction into politics of San Antonio. Had no clue what was going on politically in San Antonio, but that was my introduction, right? I pursued that opportunity. So again, you saw how my father's deportation affected me, and that pushed me to get involved in learning about immigration policy, and eventually in working in political campaigns, and eventually invited to work at the Texas Capitol. And all of this happened in a transition of 2 to 3 years. And I'm telling you this story because it's all going to connect to how I started my company, a technology business. But follow through. After working in the Texas Capitol, I decided to apply to UT Austin. Any Longhorns in the audience interested in going to UT? No? A few, I see one of them, 2 of them. There you go. Which, by the way, is a great university, and if you want to talk about it, let me know. But when working at the Capitol, I realized that I did want to pursue a career in political science. And so I transferred to UT Austin. And at UT Austin, that was an awakening of ideas, of what I wanted to do in my life. And by the way, here's the thing, right? I mean, some people think that you're going to figure it all out once you get out of college or in college. And that's not going to happen. You're going to figure it as you go. Actually, some of the most interesting people that I know, and these are folks that are in their 50s, 60s, or 70s, highly accomplished. They still are trying to figure out life. Why do I tell you that? Don't rush into things. Take your time. Pause, reflect, and figure out what you want to do once you get into college. But be proactive, like I was. Pursue those opportunities, because they're not going to come knocking to your door. And so after working, and pursuing my career at UT Austin, I decided to apply to another fellowship. And this fellowship is the UT System Field Archer Fellowship, which takes 25 students from the UT system to DC. and it was highly competitive. You're talking about all the branch schools of UT system, right? Including UTSA, right? And I got accepted. And I was extremely excited, right? But why did I get accepted? Because I put in the work, even before I applied. Worked at the Texas Capitol, worked 2 political campaigns, and I skipped a full story about a magazine that I launched, and I published 16 issues, but I'm not gonna get into that, it's too long. But I did the work leading up to that moment. I share that because, again, put in the work. There's this book by Malcolm Gladwell called The 10,000 Hours. I'm not saying you're gonna achieve 10,000 hours in your college career, but put in the time and you will perfect whatever craft or interest that you have, right? And so when I got accepted, I applied to work in the Senate. Who's heard of the US Senate? Please raise your hand. Come on, there you go. And I was working for Senator John Kerry at the time. John Kerry was a former presidential candidate. And he understood, right, some of the biggest challenges that we were facing at the time. And I wanted to work with him, and I did. And after that, I decided to apply to the USTR, which is the Office of the United States Trade Representative, the White House. And that was incredible. But there I learned 2 things, right? That in government, technology has an important role, right? And I didn't know that before even applying. And so when I was working in government, I was managing the Twitter account of Senator John Kerry and also the USTR's Twitter account. And that was fascinating because I saw how the technology tools that we have today can leverage and influence a lot of political outcomes. And so fast forward, right, and now it's 2014. And I find myself already graduated from college. And I'm trying to figure out, right, what I'm going to do next. I really thought that I was going to do the whole law school thing, right? But again, I already had this experience of working in government, of learning about technology tools, how Twitter impacts political outcomes. So I have all that knowledge, right? So now it's 2014, okay? And I'm still trying to figure out what's next in my career. And I'm panicking because I told my parents that I wanted to go to law school, right? So I have this summer and the spring semester of 2014 in the summer where I decided to work for a political candidate in Austin. And his name is Andy Brown. He lost that race, by the way. He was running for county judge, but eventually now he's the county judge. But there I learned about the challenges that we're facing in our communities, in our neighborhoods. I was knocking on doors, talking to people. So this is the inception of how I started my company. Knocking on doors, talking to people. And I realized that people wanted to complain and report issues that they saw in their neighborhoods, like potholes, graffiti, vandalism, so on. And so remember, I already had the experience of working in the Senate, at the USTR, managing the Twitter account, and also other technology mediums like email, all of that, newsletter. So I understood we could build something technology-driven that can address this issue that I was experiencing when talking to people in the neighborhoods of the east side of Austin. And I kept that story with me, moving into the summer. And that summer I decided to pursue another internship. And I tell this story about internships because you gotta be relentless in pursuing these opportunities. Again, they're not gonna come knocking to your door, right? And so this internship was actually in Barcelona. Who's heard of Barcelona, Spain? Yeah? So that was a lot of fun. You can imagine, right? I was in Spain, in Barcelona, interning for the State Department. And I realized that I did not want to be a diplomat, okay? But I realized that there was a concept called smart cities. Have you heard of a smart city by any chance? Yes? No? It's a movement about how we leverage technology tools to improve our communities, improve our cities. So I paid a lot of attention to this movement. And when coming back to Texas after my internship experience, I decided to launch this white paper, right, called CityFly. Again, look at all the experiences that led to this moment. Working in government, learning about technology tools inside of government, pursuing that internship with Kerry, with the United States Trade Representative, leveraging the newsletter, all of the technology tools there, then interning in the State Department, and eventually finding out that there's a concept called smart cities. So when I come back to Texas, I decided to launch this product, this idea called City Flag. And City Flag eventually became this tool that allowed you to report infrastructure issues that you saw in your community, like potholes, graffiti, power outages, flooding, sea level rising, you name it, right? And so we developed a prototype, but I needed to find a job because we were building this thing, right? It's a side hustle. Who's interested in developing a technology product or starting a tech company? A few of you? Okay, great. A lot of the times when pursuing the process of starting a tech company, right, you have to prototype, or you have to do what is called, and I'm going to go a little bit technical, but follow me, a value proposition design framework, right? To understand the jobs to be done and the problems to solve, right, by this product. And so that's what we were doing. And we were, surveying the audience of San Antonio, getting feedback to design something that was actually going to work for the community of San Antonio. So in the process, I was actually working at the Alamo Area MPO. And so the MPO is actually an organization that takes in, federal funding and state funding and distributes that for transportation projects in the region. So I was getting a lot of exposure, with local leaders. And every time I was in front of a local leader, instead of talking about the MPO, because I was a public involvement specialist, I was talking about my product. And eventually I got an invitation to pitch them to the city of San Antonio. And from there, they opened an RFP, a competitive proposal process, so that I could apply to win a contract with the city of San Antonio. And the rest is history. Fast forward, we launched the product. And just before launching the product, we applied to an accelerator called the Voto Latino Innovator Challenge. And in this accelerator, what they were offering was $80,000 to jumpstart your project. And I applied. We got accepted. 5 teams won. But before that, we had to pitch to an audience, a panel of folks like Rosario Dawson, Wilmer Valderrama, a bunch of celebrities that were part of the board of Voto Latino. And there's a funny story because I was so used to wearing suits, right? And the tie and all that, because I was coming from government. That's what I was used to, right? And I show up to Google in DC, and there I am, pitching my venture City Flag, right? And when I'm pitching my venture, Wilmer Valderrama, who's this celebrity actor, looks at me and says, "Hey man, don't you think you're a little bit overdressed? Are you a politician or are you a business entrepreneur?" And my response was like, "Well, I mean, I'm new to this, right? I don't know much, right?" And so that's a quick story about how relaxed and easygoing, right, the tech environment is, which I think is going to be great if you want to venture into that space, because it's very open, and it's also, people that work in that industry are very relaxed and casual, which I think is fun. And I think all of you who are interested in working in tech are going to enjoy it as well. I'm not saying that formality is out the window. I think formality is still a strong thing in our society. But having a more casual environment to work is a lot of fun. And so fast forward today, we launched the product in 2018. We went through the TechStars Accelerator. We raised venture funding. We raised $1.5 million to start. And I say that with pride because less than 1% of Latinos in venture capital or in the tech world actually raise money. And so we were able to match that with an additional grant. And fast forward, we grew the company, and now we are one of the leading tech companies in San Antonio. Just last year, we actually closed an acquisition, and we grew our team from 15 people to 70 people. And so that gives us a lot of pride because we're now doing cybersecurity work. And so that's the story, right? That's the story that led me to build my company, to let me start something, to be curious about a particular issue that I care about. But it all started with a challenge that I faced in my personal life that led me, to eventually get involved in politics, to learn about some of the issues that I faced in politics and government, and then eventually find a solution to a problem that I saw when organizing communities in the east side of Austin. And then launching a product here in San Antonio. And deciding to stay in San Antonio and calling San Antonio home for my company. And it gives me pride. But the last thing that I want to leave you with, right, is you have to improvise with curiosity. Part of my story, the arch of my story, right, from the inception to the end, it's a lot of improvisation. In life, we're always improvising. And we have two choices. You improvise with indifference or anger whenever you're faced with an adversity or a challenge, or you improvise with curiosity. And I always opt to improvise with curiosity. And that has led me to build the company that I have today. And not only did I double down on the effort of staying in San Antonio and launching a technology company, I also launched what is called the Better Futures Institute. Why? At a systemic level, the challenge that San Antonians are facing today in terms of stepping into the STEM world is a big one, especially among the Latino and Black community of San Antonio. Less than 12% of the workforce at Google and major companies like Amazon are either Latino or Black employees. And it's alarming. I know a lot of you want to go and venture into the corporate world, professional world, start your own companies, do technology, etc. But the odds are stacked against a lot of you guys, right? It's a reality. It's a wake-up call, right? And I tell you this story to talk about my adversity, but how eventually I was able to overcome that adversity. So all of you need to double down on the idea of technology skills. By 2030, about 30% of the jobs in the US and around the world, right, according to the World Economic Forum, will be replaced by AI, artificial intelligence. And while that's alarming, I don't think we should compete with AI. The reality is that AI will not replace you. People leveraging AI will replace you. And so what you're doing here at Castech is extremely important. Getting first-hand knowledge about STEM education. That not a lot of people get that exposure. You're one step ahead than other schools and other kids and other students your age. And you should be proud of that. So the reason why I started BFI is because I wanted to push a momentum, a movement forward in getting and recruiting more people from San Antonio into STEM with paid internships. So if you're interested in a paid internships, let me know. We are accepting seniors in high school to the Better Futures Institute to work on the product that we launched on the for-profit, which was the 311 SA product that made us well known in the industry. So the internship is actually going to connect to this product, and you're going to work around improving this product, and also in data analysis, and also in understanding and telling stories about how this product is impacting San Antonio. The second vertical is understanding the South Texas Triangle. Have you heard of the South Texas Triangle? Yeah, I see you in the back. I see you. So the South Texas Triangle is a region south of San Antonio in collaboration with Austin. So you have Corpus Christi, you have the RGV, you have Laredo, right? You have even El Paso, you can include it there. But in this region, what happens quite often is that instead of collaborating, we are operating in silos as cities. And I want to leave you with this knowledge because I think all of you are the future, right? And I know that right now you're sitting there, you're like, oh, Beto, come on. I get it, right? It's early, and I'm telling you, I'm giving you this speech, but follow. The South Texas region has a lot of potential. And all of you are part of it. And you should be proud of it. In South Texas, I think there's economic complexities that we can harness, right? By complexities, I mean, what are the strengths of Laredo? What are the strengths of Corpus Christi? What are the strengths of the Rio Grande Valley? What are the strengths of San Antonio? And we should collaborate as a region and compete with other regions across the US in collaboration with Austin as well. SpaceX just moved to South Texas, right? Boca Chica. Here in San Antonio, we have a lot of growth in the cybersecurity world and the biotech space. About 1 in 6 employees in San Antonio already work in biotech. in the bioscience world. And about 17,000 out of about 60,000 information technology employees already work in cybersecurity. So we're making strides on those two sectors, and we need to double down on those two sectors. And as a region, we need to see how else we can support the South Texas Triangle. And the last vertical, so we're going to be doing a lot of research on that, right? So keep an eye out for articles that are going to be published. We actually published on the San Antonio Express News the South Texas the future of work in the South Texas Triangle edition on the Express News. So you can look it up, and we already published 11 articles on it, and you can learn more about what I'm talking about. And we will continue to do more research on the subject matter with the idea of connecting the dots between the region. And the last vertical, right, is stories. We call this the Better Futures series. And you can follow those on Instagram already and YouTube. And the idea here is to tell stories about San Antonio and the collective wins of San Antonians. San Antonio has a lot of talented folks, right? And if we don't tell these stories, we're doing a disservice to our own. Are you guys proud of being San Antonians? Yes? There you go, right? And so why not tell those stories? Because it's going to allow us to inspire all of you, the youth of San Antonio, which are going to later on have a huge impact in our community, but also to welcome new talent. So when people are looking at San Antonio from LA or from, San Diego or New York, we want them to get to learn about some of those stories. And these stories are anything from a barber telling why he started his company in downtown San Antonio to an education professional, who's a consultant using different methods. Or let's say the last one that we did also was a coffee shop owner, Mila Coffee. Have you heard of Mila Coffee? It's pretty good. I like it personally. And he has a wonderful story. He's an immigrant himself. And so those are the type of stories that we want to capture. And that's the journey of BFI. So I spoke to you about my journey on starting Irys, right, formerly known as CityFly, and eventually impacting the community of San Antonio through my products and services, but how I had a lot in between, right, working in government that led me to this idea. And now I told you about BFI, Better Futures Institute, and why I started Better Futures. Because I wanted to have that vision, right, to impact my community of San Antonio, to push my community towards STEM education, which a lot of you are already doing. And that's my journey. Thank you.